We are Keiken, a collaborative practice who create gamified experiences.
Filmmaking, installation, augmented and virtual reality, and performance.
In our collaboration, we carve a space for one another to create and exchange ideas through interchangeable roles.
Together, we test drive impending futures in the realms of the phygital, physical and digital.
Since the beginning of our practice, we've clung on to this phrase. It's a bit of a joke amongst ourselves, but there is a reason why it's important. How does societal introjection govern the way we think, feel, and perceive?
The question is really asking, how does the reality that we perceive as actuality affect the way that we live our lives, and how does this affect our future? It's a pretty big question that definitely one person alone can't answer, but it seems more and more relevant every day.
This question leads to an ever more pressing one. How can we transform and imagine our potential future?
Our answer is 2 words: worldbuilding.
Every time you imagine a world differently to how we see our actual world in our daily lives, you are building it into existence. It now exists in this world in some shape or form, even if it's small to begin with, and even if it's only amongst ourselves.
In our collective approach, we place ourselves as the architects of our own space and time. In the real world, large-scale designs, structures and systems are only driven by the autocracy of governmental bodies, capitalist investment, billionaires and egomaniacal geeks.
Through borders and surveillance capitalism, they've created designs such as airports that determine who gets access to which country and which countries have access to others.
Elon Musk gets to make the decision that he can fund the colonization of Mars and projects such as Neuralink, a neural engineering company developing high-bandwidth brain-machine interface with aims such as telepathy. What are the philosophical consequences if we know what others are thinking without consent?
Jeff Bezos, the first person in history to be worth £200 billion, exasperates the mania of capitalism, monopolising materialism, with his uncontrollable growth that has eradicated the previous landscape of small, medium and large businesses. He can make ultimate decisions with godly powers.
These top-level players shape our reality and impending future.
They are spaces we would never be able to enter, and roles that we could never attain. But by using technology to create worlds, we have the power to role-play and make new decisions and take different paths.
It is also a space for us to reflect and see the world differently, use symbolic language and narrative.
By creating a new space and time that feels like it's in the future, this subversion allows you to reflect on the contemporary as though the now is history, with a perspective that pulls you out of the contemporary bubble and a bird's eye view to contemplate the network of multiple issues and topics.
It's like Grace Lee Boggs says, nothing is more important than dialectic thinking.
Dialectical thinking refers to the ability to view issues from multiple perspectives and to arrive at the most economical and reasonable reconciliation of seemingly contradictory information and postures.
Or as Donald Hoffman says, there is no algorithm to wisdom. As architects, we are building from a diverse, femme and non-binary perspective. Tanya comes from both Mexican and British heritage with some indigenous roots. Hana is from Japanese and European heritage. Izzy has Russian, Jewish, Spanish and British roots. As diaspora, we collaborate across countries and cultures.
We have a method where we can send the worlds we are making inside a gaming engine to each other whilst being in different countries. We can open them up and work on them even from our bedrooms.
The amazing thing about collective world building is you are merging one another's experiences together, and it's really about this shared dialogue and creation.
Over 3 months during lockdown, we worked with dancer, model, activist Sakima Crook and CGI artist Ryan Voltier. In this project, all characters have a glass pregnant womb regardless of gender or age. Inside their womb, each person carries and displays their tools of culture, consciousness, feelings and beliefs.
This is really influenced by Ursula K. Le Guin's essay, The Carrier Bag Theory of Fiction. Le Guin mostly wrote science fiction novels, but in this essay she questions our understanding of early technology, arguing that the first tool was in fact not a spear, a weapon of violence and competition, but actually a vessel, a carrier bag. Before the tool that forces energy outward, we made the tool that brings energy home.
We began to think, what are the tools we hold deep within ourselves, the ones we are born with and the ones we gather along the way? What are the tools we use to carry and to care from one space and time forward into another space and time? What is the philosophical symbology behind these tools?
We are world building our internal environment to search and understand cognitive behavior, consciousness, reproduction, and the connection between mind and body.
We like to visually uncover and represent our internal network, and we like to create narratives and worlds to imagine what kind of under-the-skin technologies could be used as emancipatory tools, avoiding regression and oppression.
Most societies do not teach the basics of how we function.
We like to think about ourselves as these complex organic machines. How are we wired?
Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio says, "We are not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think." What Damasio is saying is that we see our feelings as a part of how we think, but in fact we feel to think.
That the feeling drives the thinking.
This is similar to the difference between emotions and feelings. Emotions and feelings are different. There is the basic primary emotion, which is what is happening. Fear, lust, care, play, seek.
Then there is the interpretation of the emotion, that is the feeling. Anxiety, horny, love, joy, craving, which you are experiencing.
A feeling is a mental representation of the state of the body.
We are very aware of our feelings, but we often don't understand the deeper root of this, the truth to how we operate.
Emotions are automatic, feelings are conditioned.
What we are concerned about is that we don't have universal philosophical models embedded into the laws and structures of our world, teaching us the basics of how we operate, leaving us susceptible to technology, media, governments to manipulate us and lower or stunt our ability to raise our own and collective consciousness.
As feeling machines, human existence is driven by our emotions, however we rarely observe them. To understand the internal land, we need to understand our inner workings, our feeling machines. Technology knows how to target and play with our different emotions. 2020 marks a deeper way in which they take our data and survey us.
In the game Elon Musk is playing, he holds 3 cards: owning planets, owning future, and owning eternal land. The deep-rooted nature of hierarchy, which is 1/3 of a billion years old. But what is a natural hierarchy and what is an unnatural, preposterous hierarchy?
There has been the colonization of land, people, and objects, the destruction of natural habitats, and the extinction of many animals and species. But we have yet to colonize our internal land.
Karen Washington, a political activist and community organizer, urges the fact that for so long we have been owning land and been owning people, animals and seeds, and we need to get away from that mentality.
With the advancements in computing power and biological knowledge, people like Elon Musk are able to begin changing our internal land without the depth and breadth of philosophical understanding and wisdom of human existence.
Ethan Zuckerman created a small piece of code with a small action: pop-up ads. The internet swallowed and transmutated the pop-up, radically changing online advertising and surveillance capitalism. It's an invasive technology that affects our daily lives and mental health. A creation that became out of his hands as soon as it was birthed into existence. You have a card in your hand, and as soon as you put it down, you lose control of that card, and how the next hand uses it is a gamble.
With no guidelines and only a select few allowed to play the God game. Gambling with our internal land is not a game we want to lose.
Rejuvenate and never fade, lost in the data, think about it later. Hey, 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 life extension, life extension. Our most recent work, Metaverse, We Are at the End of Something, is a CGI film. For all the objects, landscape components, and the characters, we digitally painted the materials, like how you would paint on a canvas. What is so incredible about painting in a virtual way is it opens up a new kind of freedom. You now have unlimited kinds of brushes. You can copy and paste patterns and colours using virtual drawing, stamping, textures, images. Hundreds of small techniques that are both 2D and 3D. You wouldn't be able to afford this kind of freedom so quickly in real life.
We are carefully sculpting these objects. We are carving, smoothing, grabbing, and pulling them into place. We are animating the way in which the body and facial expressions move. The way the bots come to life.
Collaborator Ryan Vautier used his arm to physically embody the bots to understand how they could work on a technical level, but also how they could express a meaning or concept that breaks physical boundaries.
we worked with ongoing collaborator Sakima Crook. Sakima not only builds these worlds with us, but she's an important character that exists in both the digital and the real world. What she is doing in her own practice and in the virtual world are interconnected.
I believe that in my very existence, in my very being, I am a physical representation of questioning all that we know. Questioning gender, time, sex, money, food, all of these ideas that we've been fed. I represent a questioning of all of those things. My appearance is confronting to many, and many don't wish to see it, because I represent everything and everyone. That to look at me is to see the parts of yourself that you might not yet have accepted. But the whole journey starts with self-love.
It's not just a virtual world. It's a vision. Somebody's vision. We all know that visions give you the ability to see things that do not exist. If I was to create a gap in the vision, and if I were to pull at the thread of reality, the weave could completely unstitch, leaving us to fall. The apple drops. I know it is my time to leave.
If you scan the QR code, you will be able to activate the filter. Please make sure you have Instagram installed on your phone. When you have the effect open, you will see the instruction to scan the target of Sakima to activate the AR experience. We have been collaborating with an AI plugin to create the human faces. They help map the face, and we are then able to fine-tune these characteristics, adjusting every aspect of their face and body to very specific details, from the angle and shape of an eyelid to the amount of wrinkles on their forehead. The next stage is animating the bodies, which is where the character really starts to establish itself. And often this is where a lot of the character's personality starts to emerge through the emotion conveyed in the movement which feels most natural to the CGI character.
By creating worlds in a gaming engine, through disembodied cameras, we are able to move them and defy the laws of gravity. Unlike traditional filmmaking, there's no time limit, so you can re-enter the set.
There's freedom to explore over and over.
You can place the camera in positions and do incredibly epic cinematic shots, with camera movements that in real life would either be near impossible or cost hundreds of thousands to do. This way of working contributes to the democratization of technology.
It is really important that this way of working is valued, where we use collective critical thinking, freedom of expression, simulated learning and philosophical models to world build for our future as a community.
We want to continue working with more collaborators on this. One thing we are really interested in is creating our own AI algorithms that we can seed and grow into this metaverse.
As Adrienne Marie Brown said, everyone has universes and worlds inside them, but we have not had permission to release them. Getting to do it in a collective environment is the first step to getting to do it on your own.